Alright, what's up y'all, it's Lake2 here. As you can see by the title of today's video, here to teach you how to master the art of Perish Trap in Pokemon Champions. So, obviously, your core centerpiece of a team like this is going to be Mega Gengar. It's an absolute must. If you don't have it, you're probably, honestly, not even be able to even attempt the playstyle or the strategy. So, the ability to have Shadow Tag as your Mega ability, as well as still have something like Perish Song on the exact same Mon, is extremely powerful and is what completely makes this playstyle possible. It's like Gojo and freaking JJK. Like, when that man's on the field, people can't do the things they want to, and this is Gojo in this case. So, anyway, point being, running these moves: Perish Song, Protect, Substitute, and Shadow Ball. The last slot is going to be kind of up for debate. You could run Disable to stop people from hitting moves that, you know, make you very skeptical of if you can stay in for the turn. So something like, let's say, Parting Shot from Incineroar. You're not really a fan of seeing stuff like that because it lets him leave the Perish Trap. Let's say some Phantom Force from, let's say, Dragapult, if you somehow were able to avoid that. Pult is absolutely one of the biggest kryptonites to this playstyle, but he's not very popular, fortunately. And there are also other things you can kind of do to, you know, counteract him, and we'll talk about that later in the video, why you can't just only one-trick Perish. However, I am attempting to do that a lot harder than most people probably, and I'm playing into the playstyle extremely heavy. So we'll talk about the other Mons in just a second, but I did want to really just do a detailed deep dive on Gengar because I saw a lot of people asking about that in the comments on a couple of the last videos. So I found a good spread where this amount of HP can live Darkest Lariat and, let's say, you know, Throat Chop, stuff like that, from Incineroar very consistently, as long as he has not been invested into his attack more than, like, you know, a couple of EVs essentially, or you know, training points, if you will. So the reason for the special attack also, and why I'm very much so like at this exact split, is because this special attack is what's necessary to then also KO Basky Legion and opposing Gengars and Frostlass and all that stuff as well, if they haven't invested in their bulk either, if they're going full offense, full speed. So that is exactly what we're looking for right there, and it's enough bulk to be living a lot of attacks from those types of people as well. And then we want max speed because we want to be able to outspeed opposing Gengars every time, or end up in an unfortunate speed tie in some cases as well. But speed's extremely important because getting things like Substitute off and getting the Perish Song off on the second turns potentially, like let's say you just wiped 2 off the board and you lost one of your teammates as well. So now you're on a 3v2 and incoming are the final 2 people. Getting that Perish Song off with Gengar can be his last parting, you know, gift to your team essentially, where if he's at like 30% HP and he's going to get KO'd by somebody, you might as well sack him, allow him to get KO'd. However, before he gets KO'd, get that Perish Song off. Now you're back 2 in the party are going to be able to hit, like, you know, Protect, take 1 hit, Protect again, boom, you win the game. Simple as that. So, anyway, I'm going to move on pretty quickly throughout the rest of these guys, just so in case you guys want to see the spreads that we're running on some people, and most particularly what I really want to break down before we get into the gameplay, because I do have a lot of detailed tips to you guys of how to utilize these moves, especially things like Flip Turn, Fake Out, you know, Parting Shot, Fake Out, all types of stuff like a U-turn, Fake Out. Whatever you can get for a combination of that is extremely important. Or if you'd run something like Altaria that has Perish Song as well, and you can have that in the back of your party and still be threatening that from a different Mon. Not to mention we are going to do a different video coming very soon showcasing the power of Altaria into Rain teams and Sun teams. Oh my goodness, with Cloud9 turning the weather off, you don't even want to know what it's doing to opposing Pelipers and, you know, Archalodons. It is criminal what this Mon is doing. Now, I would never consider taking it off my team for that reason. Then we have things like Kamo-O. I've invested into his defense and attack and HP so that he can do things like Iron Defense Body Press into the opposing Tyranitar and Excadrill leads of the sand teams that Gengar struggles against. I have a video yesterday if you want to check that one out as well, where I showcase the power of Kamo-O, and he has Soundproof as his ability, so it makes it so he doesn't get affected by Perish Song. So against opposing mirror matches, as well as the fact that you don't even get hit by your own Gengars, Perish Song or Primarina or, you know, Altaria, whoever the heck's using Perish Song, you're not going to get affected by it, and it's what allows him to set up, and he's unique in that sense. No one else can do something like this, because you will have to switch out eventually, obviously, typically, but in this case, you don't get affected by the Perish Song, so you can sit there and stay on the field for the entire game if you want to. And then Incineroar, the absolute GOAT of, like, you know, the glue guy of fitting this all together. So, as you can see, we're rocking Fake Out, Protect, Parting Shot, Throat Chop. we're deciding to run a dark move rather than a fire type move 100% because our team struggles against things like Farigiraf, for instance. Like Gengar can't do any damage to it and then take super effective damage from him, and then they threaten Trick Room and stuff like that too. Not to mention, if you don't have anything to deal with it on your own Incineroar, you can't fake out when Farigiraf's on the field, let alone when they're even on the team, because it's threatening for sure. They could even switch him in, and then Farigiraf's Armor Tail ability is going to make it so priority moves don't work. And if you're ready to fake out on that turn and they switched him in, you're kind of cooked. So you definitely want a dark type move that can, you know, really threaten it and do good damage. And I have him invested very specially. As you can see, we have special D up, nature, fully invested in the special defense, HP getting a really big buff as well. And then also I have 2 speed training points on him so that we can outspeed opposing Incineroars on the fake outs as well. Where that will come back to hurt you, however, is if you were slower than opposing Incineroars, you could hit slow parting shots, so it just depends if you want to be faster than them on the fake out kind of mirror matches where you threaten to fake them out, they threaten to fake you out. Truth be told, I'm even reconsidering this a little bit because the fake out mirror match doesn't matter as much when you have Gengar on the field because realistically, Gengar can't even be faked out anyway. But yeah, long story short, it just depends. Do you want to be slower for the slow parting shots to make it so you can guarantee that whoever's switching into that parting shot is not going to be taking a hit from an Incineroar, for instance, or other people with, 60 base speed, stuff like that. But yeah. Long story short, the speed variance in these parting shots and flip turns and stuff like that can be very easy to play around as long as you have a lot of plan for it. So let's say like Pult, for instance, right? Extremely fast U-turn and has things like disable, Phantom Force. This is what was someone I was considering running on the Paris Trap team as well, because with that Phantom Force, it would actually allow you on the final turn of Perish to just disappear and no one can attack you anymore anyway. So if you just used a Protect on Perish count 2, that would mean that you would be vulnerable on the Perish count 1 turn. However, essentially, you could just hit Phantom Force, disappear, boom, now they can't even hit you, and you've essentially just protected on that turn. So, yeah, and then it would ready an attack into whoever comes in last, or if it was at the end of a fight or something like that, so be it. With the really good amount of speed that someone like Dragapult has, to have disable is extremely valuable too, because then you can just kind of shut off moves that you don't want them to do. And then the fast U-turns can be good for very niche cases, in my opinion. I think typically you want to have it slow, but the fast ones can be somewhat useful. There are other people that have, the flip moves like Palafin with flip turn that could be interesting to add to the team, but I haven't really considered it myself too much. Meowscarada, pretty interesting considering it has skill swap and U-turn, then still has Flower Trick to threaten damage. So a lot of these things I haven't tested yet myself, but there is a spot for them if you find it in your team comp that needs certain coverage like that. So anyway, yeah, with Meowscarada, I mean, the skill swap could be fire. You could take your Gengar's Shadow Tag, put it on yourself, and then give Gengar Protein, and then that means that potentially hitting Substitute and Protect and stuff like that will turn Gengar to a normal type. That's crazy. That is pretty fire, I'm not gonna lie. And then to be able to fast U-turn on a lot of people as well. Someone like Zoroark gets U-turn Encore as well. Same kind of case that Dragapult was having, except in his case it's gonna be Disable versus Encore. So anyway, just a couple of ideas for mons you could run with those types of switch moves, etc, etc. There were a couple other people I was thinking, like Bastiodon with Soundproof. And then the last one I'll talk about that's not in the party right here that I was considering running was Ninetales, just to counter, let's say, other opposing weathers, or even against, opposing snow teams, for instance, with Frostlass and Ninetales. If they're going to put up, their own Aurora Veil, shoot, I'll do it too, and then at that point, neither of us can do damage, and then that'll just mean that, with us having Paris Trap and them not, essentially they're kind of cooked, if you ask me. I mean, if both teams are doing terrible damage into each other, the one that can literally take a KO with 100% HP, if you just can last for 3 turns on it, is superior, if you ask me. So with a set like this where it could be Blizzard to fish for freezes, for instance, you could do Encore into moves that you want them to stay stuck doing, like Fake Out and Protect and stuff like that, and then Protect of our own as well. Now, the final component that I have not really played the game with yet, but I see the vision for, and I will make a video on in the future pretty soon, is going to be Klefki. So Klefki gets a very, very unique move. Only Klefki gets it. Fairy Lock. Gives all Pokemon on the field the Fairy Lock status. What this actually does is the next turn after the one that you use this on, no one can switch out. So basically, what I'm saying this is good for is when you get them pinned in a situation where it's on Perish count 2, right? But you need to get Gengar out. You can't stay in, you can't protect, you already did it on count 3, now it's down to count 2, you're in trouble. Because if you switch out, they're going to be able to like leave the field. However, if you do this on the turn where he switches out, that means that they couldn't switch on the turn he was in, and then because he switched out, the next turn they would typically be able to switch out, but if you hit Fairy Lock, they're not going to be able to. So this is kind of like playing chess and being able to pin people in like a certain, I say that, I've never even played chess before, if we're being real. But anyway, my point is, you can pin them into a spot where if Klefki is out on the field with Fairy Lock, that could be crazy. And paired with Prankster, you're guaranteed to get it off more often than not. So, you know, under very rare circumstances, you wouldn't be able to. I also have thoughts, maybe with Klefki, of, I'm not sure if I want to do this yet or not, but to put Rain Dance on Klefki and bring that into opposing Charizard and Venusaur teams. Venusaur would not be able to do a thing to this Mon right here, especially if you run Lumberry or Chesto to avoid like the sleep powders from him. And then Charizard with Air Slash isn't going to do anything to you either. The only thing you could even consider is Fire type moves into Klefki, and then obviously with Rain Up, it's going to be, you know, pretty mediocre damage, all things considered. So to be able to put Rain into opposing Sun teams, and with Mega Charizard having to pop his you know, Mega ability before you'd even do a move, because this Prankster Rain Dance will get that off guaranteed. It's not going to matter in what order things happen. Like weird things with the weather in this game have been doing when people try and match like opposing speeds like that it typically should work. So anyway, Klefki with no damaging moves, but it's low-key, maybe I'm gonna title it this video is Klefki the missing key to Perish Trap teams and Pokemon Champions. But anyway, yeah, with Light Screen, the potential to cut some special damage as well into those opposing, let's say, snow teams, sun teams, even rain teams, for instance, as well, potentially. But I'm not sure. I've been running Klefki in the party. I haven't really seen a lot of those instances that I'm really hoping to see as much. I haven't really been running into the Sun teams, and then if I do, I feel like I'm still low-key threatened on Gengar with sleep powders from Venusaur as well, so I don't know that I'm really down with it as much as I say I am. You know, if we were to set up a substitute maybe on the same turn that we hit the Rain Dance, maybe that's the right way to go about it. But anyway, forget all the, you know, questionable stuff. I'm here to tell you stuff that I do know, and we're gonna get into some gameplay real quick of people just hitting rage quits off of us really just positioning well and pinning them and just getting easy wins while doing so. Alright, so start us off in game 1 that we're actually gonna be doing these videos from. Considering I was running Pult right here and Kamo, it was definitely somewhere in Great Ball tier that I'm playing this game. But as you can see, they have like a Sylveon on the opposing team with threatening, obviously, like, you know, Hyper Voice with Pixelate, you know, Mega Dragonite or Mega Feraligatr or Mega Tyranitar or Mega Garchomp. So there's a whole lot of variety that could be going on with this team. And one given is that we know Sylveon and Whimsicott aren't going to be able to. However, you know, with that in mind, that's 2 fairy types, so something like Gengar is obviously going to be great into those, so we're not really too worried about that. And then right here, we're considering Pult for our last Mon, and also I want to show you the items real quick. We were running Lum on Primarina, Mental Herb on Altaria, but I'm going to be real, nobody has hit Taunt one time into me, or Encore, or anything like that, so I'm probably ditching that, to be real with you. This closed team sheet stuff is like very, very hard for people to even think to run stuff like that, unless they were playing like some troll stuff like what I'm doing here with the Perish Trap. But not many people are running things like Taunt and, you know, etc, like I already said. Combo O with lefties, and then we got Incineroar with Citrus Berry as well. Focus Sash on Pult is disgusting. Like, this is absolutely the best way to run him. I don't think you should run anything else, in my opinion, at all. Especially considering the Power Herb is like not even in the game yet. So anyway, we are going to pick Pult as the final. We're bringing Gengar and Incineroar for the leads right here. I think the worst thing we'd not like to see is Garchomp Tyranitar on the lead. However, we could still hit like Fake Out into Garchomp and then, you know, be able to still set up the Perish. It would just be a little bit cringe for the sake of taking the knockoff. But I've seen it before. Gengar can live the knockoffs easy. It's just like, it's not a beautiful lead. However, as you can see, they end up leading Sylveon and Whimsicott. So this is easy. Like, they just led 2 fairy types into Gengar. I'm not gonna lie, don't take too much from this gameplay on the first one that we have right here. I'll probably escalate through it pretty quickly because that is a pretty bad move, all things considered, to lead that into opposing Gengar if I'm being completely honest. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Sylveon's going to be threatening the Hyper Voice very consistently. However, we're not really that concerned about that on Mega Gengar at all. So we're going to let Whimsicott get this Tailwind off right here, and then we're going for the Sylveon Fake Out just to limit the damage that's going to be happening. We do not care about Tailwind. We don't care about speed control. We don't care about any of that stuff as long as the Paris Song got off. So where I'm trying to and this is where we're really going to start putting you guys on game with some stuff in this video. So I do hope you enjoy, and if you do, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on the noties, and all that good stuff. Anyway, as you can see, Paris count going down to 3. So I was confused about this when I was watching Wolfie's videos for the first time and really like understanding what count means what when playing the game. But 3 is going to be what happens after you've clicked it, obviously, right? And then when you consider like thinking turns ahead, essentially, if you go for the double protect on this turn, it will then turn to 2. Now, what we do on 2 is what I really want to show you guys, like the very key piece to just pinning people on stuff like this. Now, that was very interesting to see that Sylveon had the Quick Claw anyway, but once again, on a Tailwind kind of team, I don't know if that's really like great synergy, but we're just using this as an example rather than to say, wow, look at me just absolutely dog walking one of the best players in the game. It's not what I'm trying to do. What I am trying to do, though, is just teach you the basics of understanding positioning and the turns and how that matters on each of the turns. So, as we just showed you, we hit Fake Out plus Perish to set it up very consistently and easily. The Fake Out plus Perish Song lead is going to be absolutely a staple. So that's why having something like Blastoise is really convenient. I actually didn't show y'all Primarina because Prim was really useful as well with the Perish Song utility and also having slow flip turn. I'll get back to that at the end of the video, but the problem with Prim is obviously it doesn't have Fake Out like Blastoise and Incineroar do. And then, yeah, it's just kind of tough to figure out what's the perfect fits and all that. Debatably, I should just take Klefki out the lineup and put Prim in instead. But anyway, point is, Fake Out nullifies damage into a biggest, like, you know, the biggest threat to Gengar possible, and then allows him to set up Perish easy. Then you can go for the double protect on the next turn. Then when we hit, let me rewind this so y'all can see this. Perish count fell to 2. On the turn right after the Perish count falls to 2, you have opportunities to do exactly this. And this is where it's like the perfect setup. So you're gonna be able to switch Gengar out, and you're like, well, like, how is that gonna work? I mean, like, if I switch Gengar out on count 2, that means on count 1 turn, they can just switch out themselves. It's gonna be a perfect situation for them, and you're just allowing them a perfect opportunity to do it. So where this works out best is hitting Parting Shot on them, or in cases that you're like really scared that they're going to be hitting Protect and you don't want to do that, you could Parting Shot your own teammate. You could Parting Shot your own Gengar slot, which will turn into Prim, and then you could just Fake Out Primarina and then be able to get Gengar right back in. So that's what we're going to be doing right here, and you can see me mulling it over, trying to figure out, do I want to use this on them or myself? Like, you know, how do we want to go about this? The safe play, the safest play every time is going to be to do it on your own teammate. You only have to take 1 turn of damage between now and the end of the, you know, Perish count. So I end up going for it on Prim, which, like I said, safe play, 100%. If they ended up hitting Protect, it would have trolled me entirely because then they could have got out. They don't go for Protect, as you can see with the, you know, damaging moves firing off already. They go for the Moonblast into Gengar, terrible play. I mean, again, Shadow Ball, however, into Gengar, you know, decent play for sure. But anyway, again, we're not here to talk about like whether my opponent was really good at the game or not. We're just here to talk about how to do these types of switches and like how to set things up well. So again, in case you didn't get the gist of it, I just want to break it down one last time. We did a manual switch on Gengar to take him out. However, again, if he's gone, that means the field has not had Gengar on it. So that means if Gengar's not back on the field by the time this turn ends, that means next turn they're going to be able to switch out. So the way to do this properly, again, is to take a slow mon like Incineroar or a slow mon like Primarina and avoid all types of damage that you'd ever have threatened into Gengar because he just disappears for the turn, essentially. And then, by the time the turn's over, comes back in after this Parting Shot is done, and now, poof, Gengar's back on the field. Guess what? They still can't leave. And now we have our Protect refreshed as well. So the fact that we did a switch out plus a Parting Shot in both of those 2 different slots means that now when the count fell to 1, we have double Protect and we have pinned them entirely. They are cooked. They're done for. All that HP, 187% of it is going to disappear just on this turn. And guess what else is valuable about this? Typically, if you play Perish Trap, and you don't have pivot strategies like this, you're going to end up with your own counter falling down to 1, and you're going to be in a situation like this at the very end where you're just forced to switch out with your count on 1, and you're going to have to take massive damage from whatever the heck is threatening on you, like a Whimsicott Moonblast plus a Hyper Voice from Sylveon or whatever it decides to do, or a Shadow Ball. Like, 2 different people would have had to take that attack if we didn't have the pivot strategy going with it. But because we were able to switch out and get Gengar from slot left to slot right, and then be able to move like Incineroar out and bring Primarina in instead in the left slot for Gengar, now neither of my Mons had the Perish count trapping down, and then boom, we're able to take 2 KOs, the Tailwind runs out at the exact same time, whatever they had in the back, guess what? Now you're back in with Gengar. I know your Protect is gone, but you're going to be faster than the majority, like a big majority of the people that could be coming in here in the final slot, and we have 4 Mons alive. At this point, more often than not, probably just spam Paris Song against whatever the next 2 people are, because they can't leave. It's VGC rules, obviously, where it's like 4 Mons can be brought. So leading 2 and then having 2 in the back, that means if you got 2 KOs off rip, you're going to be able to get the next 2 with the Paris Song as well, and they can't go anywhere. Can't do anything about it at all. The only thing you could probably struggle with is like a soundproof Pokemon, essentially. And, you know, in some people's case, they're not very good special defensive bulk. And, like, again, Bastiodon, he can't really mess with Gengar, if we're being real. And then, like, Kamo-O, while I do like him, I still don't think he could really mess with Gengar because of his lack of special defense bulk and, like, you know, the way he attacks as well. But anyway, into the next one. As you can see, they have the threat of Alolan Ninetales. They got Sylveon as well. Lucario, Shiny, for that matter too. Aegislash. Spiritomb is one I'm actually kind of concerned about when it comes to the Gengar lead. Because, granted, we don't have any Prankster Mons on the team. Klefki would be, but you're not going to do like priority moves into somebody. But when I was considering this team in the early portion of like the showdown that was allowing us to see the Mons that would have been confirmed in the game, well, it turns out Grimmsnarl's not in the game. But Grimmsnarl was like someone I really wanted to bring to a lot of fights and like as the lead as well. And for him, it's threatening double time because we don't like ghost types or dark types on the opposing team, and then for it to be a dark type means you can't use prankster moves into it either. So long story short, I was very intimidated by dark types coming into this. That's why we want someone like Kamo-O, but that's also threatening too because Kamo-O can't hit ghost types for that matter either. So Spiritomb would have been very threatening into this team, but I don't know if they saw the vision with that, so they don't even bring him to my knowledge. So yeah, you're not going to see that in this game. However, you will see us still execute the Paris Trap again. And I think what we would do against typical ghost types is Gengar is going to be good enough specially attacking. It's a 170 base with 130 base speed, typically faster than all of them too. So more often than not, Gengar can deal with the ghost types. Dark types are where you're concerned, and there are very rare cases where there are ghost and a dark. So like Spiritomb and Sableye. And let's be real, who's bringing Spiritomb and Sableye typically? So anyway, you're going to see we are definitely thinking about hitting the Perish off rip. And then we brought Pult in the back as well. Long story short, we're trying to figure out which one to fake out right here. I don't know if it was inner focus. Here, let's see. Actually, that would have easily been able to be seen on the lead. Yes, inner focus Lucario, so we can't fake him out. So that was absolutely not going to happen. So we end up going for the fake out into Ninetales. You know, no doubt about it. And we're getting some value one way or another, whether it's to stop them from hitting a Blizzard or, you know, we might lose Incineroar on this turn to Lucario. That's cool with me. I don't really care. Guess what, though? These guys actually make a huge play. So check this out. I go for the fake out in Ninetales, but what you're actually going to see is me not go first. And I'm like, well, why is that? Well, turns out Lucario has a nice little move where he is like, I've had enough of you cringe fake outers. I'm hitting upper hand into you. So he gets the fake out, not me, and does a ton of damage with it too, for that matter. That is tough. So anyway, I do get to Perish off with Gengar, however, and then Ninetales is still going to be able to do its turn. Now, what would be troll right here is to hit Aurora Veil, and unfortunately, a lot of people are pilled to believe that this is the answer because it's what they typically do against other teams. Because honestly, it's a good move. You know, with a Mega Lucario on your team, that, you know, to be pretty soon here, it's a really good play. Because obviously you're going to buff up his defenses and stuff, surround him with, you know, like a really good ability to do so. Ninetales is going to get his defenses bulked up by the fact that it's already in the snow for that matter, and then also getting an Aurora Veil. The problem is, against a Perish Trap team, we're not doing damage. So we're going to go for the double protect on this turn right here, because once again, Perish count on 3. So after the protect, it's going to fall to 2. you know, simply put. So it doesn't really matter what they're doing right here, so I'm just going to fast forward it. You can see the moves that they decide to click into this. I'll just let you see it. But yeah, close combat into Incineroar, and then I believe Blizzard from Ninetales as well. So anyway, all good. We're not really worried about this. So this is where you're going to see a little bit of an interesting play as well, once again. And you're probably wondering, like, what are you going to do now? You can't do the parting shot in, you know, with Lucario on the field. This is terrible for you. So how are you going to get out of this? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do it anyway. So we're going to hit this parting shot into Lucario right here. And my whole point with this is I'm either A, going to get KO'd and I can get Gengar back in anyway, or B, get the parting shot off and then be able to obviously, you know, get Gengar back in off the parting shot. So I'm willing to sacrifice Incineroar right here and be willing for him to get KO'd. He's really low on HP. It's okay. We're not really trying to preserve him. In a perfect world, I maybe I could, you know, send in Primarina or something like that. But the problem is I can't switch Incineroar out manually and get Gengar in on this turn. Gengar's in the whole, like, he's on the screen right now, so I'm not able to, in the preview, select that I want to switch to Gengar, right? I would have to do it through a damaging move or a parting shot, for instance. So yes, that's what we're doing. We're hitting parting shot into Lucario, and if we get KO'd, that's cool. That means we get Gengar back in anyway, and if we don't get KO'd, that means we're getting the parting shot off. God forbid we get hit with a blizzard and they choose not to, you know, actually damage into Incineroar, and then we get froze or something like that, I guess, is like the absolute worst case scenario that could have happened there. But anyway, yeah, this was, you know, easily my best play, 100% that I could have done in the moment. So we take the close combat into Incineroar, that's cool, and then we take the blizzard from Ninetales into Primarina right here. I don't even think the freeze would have mattered at all, because then we're just, like, no matter what, we're getting Gengar back on the field. So it is what it is. We lose one Mon, they are going to lose two here now, you know? So now you can take a look, even if you wanted to figure out what might be in the back. You're like, Spirit Tomb would be tough. I'm not gonna lie. That's not ideal. I do have, like, U-turn from Dragapult, as well as, like, I mean, I don't know, Shadow Ball is still neutral damage, so I think we could still whittle down Spirit Tomb if it happened to be here. Sylveon we can absolutely deal with Gengar, easy. Meganium could be kind of tough for, let's say, something like Prim. However, not really the toughest thing in the world for Gengar to deal with. Meganium can't hit super effectively, let alone anything non-resisted into Gengar. I mean, grass moves, absolutely not. Fairy moves, absolutely not. So anyway, yeah, Perish counts falling down to 1. You know how this goes. Gengar get back in on the right slot and hit double protect. You get the double KO. Cool beans, you know. At that point, we have a little bit of chip on Primarina, but it's going to be a 3v2 past this. And once again, you know, we set this up in the perfect way where after this double protect, we could hit the Perish Song again into the opposing team of whoever comes in, and again, more often than not, we're gonna be faster than them. And also, I was talking all that stuff about Spirit Tomb being a threat. The thing is, you can position yourself in ways that, like, if you have things that can sort of deal with that and not be a one-trick Perish team like that, like you're gonna see in the next game that we actually showcase on this, that's gonna be a little bit more adversity in our, you know, not in our favor, more so. But it doesn't even matter. I could Perish Song the Spirit Tomb at this point, and he can't go anywhere. I know he's a ghost type and he could switch out typically, but you have to have a teammate that you can even switch out into. So if you can kind of position and set the opposing team up to have their ghost types in the back at some point, that would mean you can actually 1v1 them at the end or hit the Perish Songs on them and they can't even switch out. So, you know, successfully having, you know, dealt with these two non-ghost types right here, anything that happens to be in the back, whether it's Aegislash, Spirit Tomb, whatever the case may be, we're good. We can simply just hit Perish Song and they're going to be cooked. So Sylveon, we got really checked in the bag as well, not a problem. As you can see, they do have Aegislash and they do have Sylveon in the back. So we're going to play this a little bit differently, though, because I do know that Aegislash carries Shadow Sneak on him. I mean, realistically, I could have easily just hit Perish right here, but you're actually going to see me do something a little bit different. So what you're going to see us go for here is a substitute. So this is one trick you could do with the substitute instead of protect, is turns that I've already clicked protect on, substitute can serve as a mini protect, if you will. And it's kind of like a, you know, high risk, high reward protect, if you will, because if on a turn you ever maybe, let's say, led with the fake out, you know, turn 1, you lead with fake out plus substitute. If the one opponent that can actually do damage doesn't choose to attack into Gengar and chooses to attack into your fake outer instead, that would mean that you carry a pseudo protect into the next turn, for that matter, too. So Substitute can really serve, though, as a good buffer on turns like this, where I know I'm going to be faster than everybody else on the field, and I do want to click sub. To be fair, he easily could have clicked Shadow Sneak into this and still would get it off before I can get the sub off, but I don't think Shadow Sneak's going to get the KO. So instead, actually what I can do, and what you're going to see me do, you know, as you're going to see right here, with Prim on the field, I'm going to be clicking Perish Song with Primarina, and then you could even do this on leads too. You could do it on the beginning of the matches as well. If you want to threaten Perish Song from your other slot while Shadow Tag is being used as Gengar, you don't have to do every single Perish Song from Gengar slot. You could do it from Altaria. You could do it from Primarina. You could do it from, I don't know who else in the game currently has Perish. Come to think of it, I think Politoed, yeah, Politoed as well, if you want to run like a hybrid Rain team or something like that splits between Perish and Rain. But anyway, yeah, so as you can see, we go with the sub with Gengar. Now check this out, we are going to be trolling the heck out of this Aegislash. It doesn't even matter, we would win through the Perish regardless, but with Aegislash, as I mentioned in a video breaking him down, you can see with King Shield, or stance change, I should say, he switches into blade form when he goes for attacks like this, damaging attacks. However, the thing is, now we have him kind of pinned. He's going to have to hit King Shield or else he's getting cooked. Like, he had crazy amount of defense on that first turn. That's why I didn't want to go for that Shadow Ball. But now, as you can see, I mean, he's in blade form, and the only way he can get out of it is if he hits King Shield. And if he's going to stall turns by hitting Protect, they're done for. It's not going to help. And conveniently, with that kind of in mind too, Aurora Veil just ended as well. So not only would he have been in shield form, but also the fact that they had, Light Screen and Reflect, up because of the Aurora Veil as well. So that would have been definitely not a KO into Aegislash, in my opinion. But anyway, we go for the Protect with Prim right here, and then we go for the Shadow Ball into Aegislash. If he didn't hit King Shield, like I said, he's cooked. If he does hit King Shield, he's cooked. So we have him right where we want him, and they're done for. And now Sylveon's the last one left. As you're going to see, boom, blah, blah, blah. Let's just go ahead and fast forward. They ended up forfeiting, obviously, when the Perish count fell to 2 right here, and Sylveon's the only one left. So anyway, if you wanted to, though, and not run things like Substitute, you could absolutely run Sludge Bomb and really hard counter the Fairy types that you'll see. But Gengar already counters them well enough, in my opinion, anyway, because they can't hit him very well. And you'll see that in a different video where I talk about how Perish Trap low-key counters Floette, in my opinion, as well. But anyway, last game of the day. This one, though it looks underly intimidating and not that crazy, right? It's not like a meta Rain team. However, why this threatens me, and I feel kind of uncomfortable about a team like this, is I see Incineroar. Parting Shot is a valid option that he can use to get out of the Perish Trap. Volt Switch from Manetrike is a valid option he could use to get out of the Perish Trap. We have Pelipper with U-Turn, valid option to get out of the Perish Trap. There are 3 people threatening the ability to leave on the Perish counter turns, and that is the absolute hard counter to this team. And when you play with this team, you're going to have to understand that things like that are going to be either you're going to have to play around it a little bit with things like I can start looking for matchups on my team into things like that, right? So like, for instance, Kamo-O is going to be a great matchup into Incineroar. I don't have to deal with the Parting Shot BS. I can simply just put Kamo-O out there and he will deal with Incineroar. And he has no choice but to do it too, because, if we can sync that up well with the Parting Shot turns and like non-Parting Shot, he's cooked. Also, by the way, interesting thing about Kamo-O that I want to talk about into Incineroar hard counter. Parting Shot is a sound-based move, and if Incineroar uses Parting Shot and you switch Kamo-O into that slot, it will fail. It will just simply not work. It's not gonna not only drop his stats and not do it, but it'll also make it so he can't even leave. So, we did bring Klefki to this lineup right here, as you can see. They have, Mega Dragonite being threatened in a Rain team as well. Mega Clefable with, I believe it turns Flying type, where things like Garchomp would have a real rough time with the Clefable. I can see why people like to run that. Garchomp has been pretty popular, for sure. And same goes with, Dragonite can't really hit Clefable that great either, all things considered, especially if you had something like Earthquake on Dragonite. So, anyway, if I'm not mistaken, this was actually a pretty high rank, all things considered, of where we've been at. Yeah, so Great Ball 2, I have climbed up to Ultra Ball 1, or Ultra Ball, whatever the beginner part of Ultra Ball is at this point. I just hit it. So, anyway, they lead with 2 people I know threaten the ability to get out of here. That's very annoying, obviously, right? They could Volt Switch, they could also hit the U-Turn. So, I don't think they're going to do that with Pelipper, however. And, you see me hovering the standard little, Perish Song off rip. But I think about it, I'm like, I don't want to do this Perish into Manetrike and Pelipper. I feel like they could either both get out, or at least probably more likely than not, Manetrike can. And that's where I think someone like him is actually valuable. Electric types are pretty rare in this game right now, and especially powerful ones at that. So someone like Manetrike is actually not a joke in the game, if you ask me. I don't know. That's just my opinion, to be fair. But anyway, I'm going to try and get the KO on him. I'm going for the Fake Out into him, as well as going for the Shadow Ball off the Mega as well. We drop his HP down to 86. I don't know if it would have mattered right here or not, but I do get the crit on him. Now, he's not exactly a very bulky Pokemon, and not to mention we did still chip him off the Fake Out too. So I think really good play right there. And then as you can see, they go for the Tailwind with Pelipper. Now, this feels okay, but the other thing is, this also means my Perish Trap might be kind of cooked a little bit, because Tailwind is going to be threatening me a little bit. And then, as you can see, Incineroar hops in here too, and now it's like a Tailwinded Incineroar is kind of threatening KO into Gengar. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to protect this turn, and then hit the flip turn into Incineroar as well. Now, or debatably, if I'm concerned about getting faked out, though I don't really think that should be the case. I feel like you know, looking at it from a different POV right now, I think it's pretty likely they're going to hit a dark move into, you know, Gengar and keep it as simple as that. But what I could do is flip turn into Incineroar if I, you know, wanted to still play for this. And if they do fake out Blastoise, oh well, it's not like that's that terrible of a turn. I could still afford to do this on the next turn where I switch Gengar out and then flip turn with Blastoise. But as you can see, they go for the Hurricane into Gengar and Darkest Lariat into Gengar as well. So the Protect pays off huge, and then we get the flip turn off right here in the rain, doing big damage to Incineroar, all things considered. I know, like, it's not a super troll thing to run Incineroar on a rain team. People do it plenty. They just don't run a fire move, you know? But opposing water types can absolutely have a good time into Incineroar. So not only did I already get decent chip on Incin, but like now we have him in a spot where I kind of resist the heck out of him. And now Altaria hops in here with the Cloud9 turning the weather off. So I'm just going to switch Gengar out, and I don't really care that I don't have a pivoting move with Altaria, because now if they want to switch out, I don't really mind. I know they can't do good damage to Altaria. So I am actually going to even threaten them even more to switch out. But the problem is now, because we're able to get one KO, if we do hit Perish Song into their team, only one person can switch at a time. So it's going to slow them down extremely if you do decide to do something like that. And me personally, I'm not really trying to bring Kamo-O onto the field right now while Pelipper is on it. You know, if I take Altaria off, that means the rain comes back online. And then it's going to be a whole debacle of like hurricanes hitting into Kamo-O. So I'm keeping him off the field right now until I can find a way to get rid of Pelipper. Whether that's being Perish trapped or, you know, Perish songed in general and like, you know, leaving, or if it's him switching out. So unfortunately, he not only lands the Hurricane with the rain not working right now, but also gets the confusion into Blastoise. So yeah, a little bit lucky, if you will, right there. But oh well, I mean, it is Pokemon at the end of the day. You got to play around with stuff like that. We hit the Draco into Incineroar. We do about 30% right there, which means that we're clearly not going to do it on the next one either. So I'm going to go for, like, let's say fake out Draco into Incineroar here, or flip turn Draco into Incineroar. I'm just trying to get him off because I know he can be doing switching moves like, you know, for instance, the parting shot, etc., etc. So we could even Perish Song again right here. Like any time that you want, you could be threatening Perish. However, I do think I want to threaten the KO into Incineroar just so that we can, like, you know, make sure even if something switches in here, oh well, Incin is off the field and we can trap whoever comes in next. So we are flip turning with Blastoise. However, you can see Hurricane hits into him again, even with the rain not online. He lives on 4 HP, and this is cool and whatnot. Like, and then he does go for the parting shot, as you can see too. So it works out perfect to be hitting flip turn. Now, here's where this works out. I'm either going to land this flip turn, and I'm getting out, you know, of Blastoise into Gengar, or I'm just going to literally get KO'd to hitting myself in confusion. And as you can see, Draco obviously doesn't land into Clefable. Good switch by them. But again, it actually sets us up to be in a good spot right here. So remember that thing I was talking about of the whole, when I was talking about the Spirit Tomb and Sableye and guys like that, you know, the Ghost Dark types, and I'm like, oh man, they would be a real threat into these Paris Trap teams. That's a really hard time. Guess what? This ended up working out perfectly. So I was threatening damage into Incineroar. They ended up switching out because I obviously was, you know, readying a flip turn into Draco into that slot, and I'm just simply doing damage because I don't think Pelipper can do anything to these two, to be real with you, other than hit 70% Hurricanes and get confusions and then get the confusion to actually work and KO himself after hitting it 2 times in a row. But anyway, whatever. It is what it is. So we bring Gengar in now, and because he's already been on the field, he's already Mega, you know? So, boom, here we are. I could either, A, pair a song with Gengar, because I feel like I wall Clefable pretty well, or I could protect with Gengar and pair a song with Altaria. However, because Clefable's on the field, I don't feel comfortable leaving Altaria exposed like that, so we are just going to lead the pair a song with Gengar 100%, because now Incineroar's stuck in the back, and as long as this Pelipper doesn't have U-turn, because he hasn't used it yet, so he hasn't left. I don't know if he does or not, but I guess we're going to find out right here. And even if he did, oh well, we can just kind of whittle down Incineroar. He's down to like 40% HP, so it's not something we have to really be too concerned about. So anyway, Perish from Gengar plus Protect with Altaria. I think that's definitely the play right here. I just go back just to make sure that's what I clicked because I wasn't really sure if I was, you know, doing all the right inputs there. So anyway, just setting it all back up. As you can see, they go Clefable Mega. We're going to fast forward past this because this is a long animation, as always. But anyway, Altaria Protect, Gengar Perish. Boom, we have now put a count down on these two that cannot leave the field, to my knowledge, at least not having U-turn with Pelipper. So, Tailwind, once again, I hate to break it to y'all, but I do not care when people hit Tailwind. It does not matter. I'm sure he was expecting damage into Clefable. He might have even been expecting Sludge Bomb or something like that. So, boom, he goes for the Wish instead. He hasn't seen me even do Perish Song yet this whole game. So, now we caught him off guard a little bit because we've been doing damage to his team like a natural Pokemon team, you know? Like, not some weirdos that are running this Perish Song stuff. But anyway, now that we got that off and we're at full HP with everybody, we could just pretty much double protect right here. However, I say that, I already protected with Altaria. I think in the moment I might have forgot that that was the case. So, a little bit of a blunder on my part there, and it's probably going to get Altaria cooked for that matter too. But I probably should have switched out if we're being completely honest. That is absolutely the right play right here, especially with Incineroar still in the back. Altaria is like, you know, going to wall that decently. So yeah. Bad play by me, 100%. Like, I don't know, I just lost track of stuff. But again, the right play here would have been to absolutely switch into who do I even have in the back though? I think it's Kamo-O. Maybe that's not even really that great a play anyway. Because oh yeah, here I go, second guessing myself. So let's talk about why this isn't really a threatening position right now. As far as Gengar goes, I don't really think he's KO'able by anything, to be real with you. Like a fairy type, I don't know, Pelipper, all things considered, I'm not really too worried about it. So as long as Gengar doesn't get KO'd on this turn, we're all good. If Altaria does, that does not matter because we're going to be able to bring in Kamo-O with their Perish counter on 1. I'll be able to protect no matter what, you know, when that does happen, and then we're chilling regardless. But because I went for the double protect on Altaria anyway, it doesn't even matter because I can go for it now. So yeah, and when it failed, obviously. So sorry, I'm a little all over the place with the information here, obviously, but as you can see, once again, another non-rain Hurricane lands. I get the sub off, however. Thankfully, I don't get confused because that maybe could have got a little bit cringe, all things considered. But again, the third Hurricane out of 3 lands straight into Gengar again. So thankfully, though, like I said, we don't get confused. I'm able to get the sub up. The Thunderbolt does not get the KO on us, and now we're chilling. We're 100% in the clear. Now I can just protect Gengar, and even if I couldn't protect Gengar, who cares? Like, what's essentially going to happen right here, everybody on the field's going to get KO'd because I let everybody go down to Perish. So, like, my own Mons are going down to Perish. I did not want to switch Kamo-O in for any shenanigans or any reason at all. And, you know, Altaria is the final one to get KO'd anyway. So even if there was nobody in the back, we would have won that interaction right there. But my point is, I know that my remaining Mon beats their remaining Mon, even at full HP. Doesn't matter. There's no world where Incineroar is going to beat Kamo-O in a 1v1 at full HP. It's just simple as that. So because Kamo-O hasn't hit the field yet, here we go. They bring Incineroar in. Doesn't matter that he intimidates me, even if he does. So I'm chilling regardless. The attack is not a non-factor for Kamo-O because Body Press uses his defensive stat. I have Iron Defense. I have Draco Meteor. Every single thing I could possibly do. I even have leftovers to cover for his Fake Out. So, like, even if he wanted to get Fake Out Chip on me, it still won't work. So I think he understands that it's over and doesn't even go for the Fake Out here. He probably could have, you know, if he wanted to hold on to his Hail Mary, but He ends up not doing that. You know, we are just faster with combo O2, which is another reason why he counters Incineroar of being a faster mon than him as well. And boom, there you go. Take the KO on him. We only took 2 KOs that game with Paris Song, and it was done in a maneuver that allowed us to actually set it up. Like, it wasn't really ripe for the taking, super easy for us to get the Paris trap. It just so happens that we were able to trap Pelipper and Clefable at the same time. So, worked out really good. But anyway, yeah, as you see, nice little 3-game win streak once again out here. But I'm not even trying to like ego or like gloat when I talk about if I'm on like win streaks or beating people on win streaks or my record and, you know, stats and stuff like that. I am having fun, and I really do think I'm getting really good at the game and with the style as well. But the thing that I'm really trying to get at is that the style itself, I'm trying to rep Paris Song and Paris Trap. I'm a fan of this. I think it's fun. It's different, unique. I'm sure it's not fun to go against, to be real with you. But hey, I'm having fun. I don't care if anybody else is. I'm going to be real with you. So I don't know. And again, I don't know if you could really like hate on it too hard. I mean, there is counterplay literally built into the game. You know, being able to switch when Gengar is down in the field, being able to simply just hit Volt Switch, U-turn, Flip Turn, Parting Shot, etc., all this stuff, you know. I mean, it's just like, there's so many different things. Being Ghost type as well, the innate, like, challenges that Gengar faces in general, like T-Tar and Sand teams and stuff like that, and, you know, Dark types in general. So there is counterplay. It's just that we have a lot of things surrounding that kind of allow us to actually play around the counterplay. That's the whole point of the team. Speaking of which, I want to bring us back to Primarina real quick because I forgot to do that in the intro. I'm going to get you the breakdown on Prim. But besides that, yeah, the rest of the team we already showed. So yeah, I think realistically, let's probably just plan on dropping Klefki. It's like really cool tech that seems fun, but I think the better way to go about things is probably going to be just to have Prim in Klefki's spot, because I think it just makes for an overall better team, if we're being real. The only thing I was concerned about is that Prim and Blastoise have pretty overlapping like roles, but Prim at least provides a little bit more damage output with the Hyper Voice being on, as well as has Paris Song that it at least brings to the table as well. Blastoise obviously does not have Paris Song. However, what he provides is more like the Life Dew and Fake Out value compared to Prim. But yeah, they're both water types that have Flip Turn. One's more physically bulky, the other's more specially bulky. I might even like flip this and go full special bulk into Prim and full defense bulk into Blastoise, so that they can like kind of just have their own specific niches that I know they're gonna fit opposed to each other if I were to run both of them at the same time. But I don't know, I'm still kind of on the search. I do feel, however, though, that Blastoise is a better fit for the team than Primarina. But it leaves you a little bit more vulnerable on the Paris songs. I mean, as you saw, I had cases where I could hit Paris with Prim, and it actually was a good fit. So, I don't know. We'll just have to see how things go. But I wanted to give you guys all the options because I think it's kind of fun for you to play around things yourself. Sinistcha is a decent fit for the team. Mousehold potentially is too, even though they don't have like, you know, crazy value. U-turn on Mouse is still possible with like Friend Guard, Follow Me, Encore. Sinistcha, I don't have Rage Powder on, but you could run that. But the, like, you know, 3 different ways to heal yourself, and then like, you know, also a way to heal your allies too with Life Dew and Hospitality as the ability. Still very good fit on the team as well. So yeah, a lot of options for this Paris Trap team, and that's what's the beauty in it as well, is that you can just kind of flex around whatever you're trying to play in the moment. I feel like I have a lot of versatility in the people I can choose to play on this team. There's like 15 of them probably, and more. Grim and like, you know, Scrafty were like the real hitters that I wanted to bring to this team. These are like the backups, technically speaking, but yeah, I think this stuff is beautiful for sure. So anyway, that's all for the video. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub, and new channel noties. All good stuff. Like always, try 1 to 300 likes. And if you made it to the end of the video and you want to show support that you made all the way through, put Perish or put Trap in the comments to show support that you made all the way to the end. Anyway, feel free to check out some of my other videos too if you'd like to. But yeah, we've been on the grind here. And this almost hour-long video was also an encapsulation of that as well. So anyway, that's all. Stay tuned for more Perish as well. I will be running this 100%. But anyway, take it easy, man. Peace.